I am like an authentic mermaid today because I am literally stuck in fishnet right now and I don't feel like getting myself free. So we're just gonna roll with it. Welcome to another edition of Ask a Mermaid, where I answer all sorts of questions that I get asked as a professional mermaid performer. If you don't know who I am the Magic Crafter. I play different mermaid characters and I am usually seen swimming in Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, rivers, ponds, inland lakes, Lake Superior, all sorts of places. Today we're going to answer questions on the topic of weird stuff that I find and interact with in the water. To kick things off, we have the really fun question of what weird things do you find in the water? Now, I'm not gonna tell you the weirdest thing that I found in the water until question number 2, because that's question number 2, but let me just tell you some of the things I found in the water. So to begin, my dad and I have found a toy shark, which was really fun because when people ask me, aren't you afraid of sharks? I can just show them the video of my little toy shark in the water. We have found a really creepy doll in the water. It wasn't really a creepy doll as much as it was just creepy to find a doll sitting in the water. It was just really eerie and I didn't like it very much. We have found diapers. We have found pads. We have found sunglasses. My dad has found a knife and also a bottle of unlabeled red wine. We have found a folding chair which is covered in zebra mussels and we actually left it in the lake. Usually we take things out if we find them, but like the folding chair just had been there for so long and we just knew it was a part of the lake at this point, so it's still there. We've also obviously found some shipwrecks, but we didn't discover those, so I can't really say we found them, I guess. We have found a bike with its lights on. We weren't swimming when we found that one. We were actually taking a walk by the water. I have found, let's see, an empty palette of eyeshadow. I have found random boat parts, which is kind of concerning. I have found antique like buoys for fishing nets, which are actually really cool, and I've collected a few of those because I think they're kind of a neat treasure. I have accidentally found fishing line on a few different occasions because it's tangled me up. And then probably one of the weirder things that we have found, not the weirdest thing, but one of the weirder things we have found is I found a full pot, like a giant pot, like it's big, of flowers, and they were still blooming. And this is an area that we are very familiar with, and it's like my stomping ground. I'm there like almost every day in the summertime. And we came back from a swim, and this is when I was blind and couldn't see very well. And I was swimming ahead of my dad, and I saw this big dark object with like spikes all over the place. And because I had played video games a lot when I was a kid, my instant reaction was, oh my gosh, it's a spike mine, because it reminded me of the spike mines from Crash Bash. And I knew that was like a really silly, irrational thing to think, but still that's instantly what my mind went to, and I didn't want to touch it. Luckily my dad had goggles on and he could see, so he saw it and was like, oh hey, that's just like a pot of flowers. So him, being the strong and caring guy that he is, lifted the full pot of flowers, complete with dirt and a ton of water, out of the lake and put it back on shore, where it proceeded to bloom all year, which was actually really cool. I have no idea how it got in there. I assume it was the work of a little punk, but I don't really know how some little punk could lift it up over the break wall and throw it into the water, so I have no idea. As for the weirdest thing I have found in the water, which is question number 2, what is the weirdest thing you have found in the water? This one might creep some people out, so if you don't like the theme of kind of like dead things, you may not like this one. But one day I was swimming along the shore of Lake Michigan with my dad. We weren't doing any filming, I wasn't at an event, I was just wearing a mermaid tail and swimming for the fun of swimming. And this was when I was blind and couldn't see, so it was before my surgery. And this lady approaches me, she's on the shore, I'm close to shore in the water, and she said, hey, I have some family members who are having a really, really rough day. Do you think you could swim over here and cheer them up? And I said, sure, I can't see well. Could you just like maybe let me follow your voice and I will head that direction and I'll see if maybe we can just make them smile. So we did that and I followed her along the shore for a while. And then suddenly I started to notice a change in the water. It went from being blue to like this milky color. And when I popped up for air and to like hear where the lady was at, she was like, okay, like, you know, can you see those people over there? And I'm like, yeah, I see like these blurry figures. And she said, I want you to swim between them. I think it'll really cheer them up. So I swim between them and they didn't seem too happy. The water was still pretty milky, and it turns out they were spreading the ashes of a loved one in the lake. and the lady had me swim through. I think it was a really sweet gesture for her to try to cheer up her family members, but I feel really bad even to this day for swimming through someone's ashes. And I had no idea that's what was going on until I was in the ashes. So that was awkward, and that's definitely the weirdest thing I found in the water is human ashes. And this was ironically something that happened with my mermaid phantom character, who I often refer to as the ghost of the Great Lakes. So it was really fitting, but it was still really, really strange. And I feel bad, and I hope this family will forgive me if they think wow, that was really awkward. I didn't know what was going on, but yeah. That happened. On a bit of a lighter note, the next question is, how do fish and wildlife react to you when you are in the water? And I love this topic because I love fish. And I love all the creatures that live in the lakes. If there's one thing that I've learned in my years of being a professional mermaid, it is that fish are not afraid of you. They see you as like an obstacle that is coming towards them, and then they get out of the way so they can come back around and stare at you. We have so many videos where there will be a group of fish that will dodge me or my dad, and then they'll come back around and just stare at us from a distance like we are the most amazing thing they have ever seen. Specifically the fish like my dad. There have been so many times when we are resting between dives where a whole school of fish will just form around my dad's flippers, and it is the funniest thing. Sometimes they'll do it to me, but usually it's my dad. I don't know what it is about dad. Maybe it's because he's just a really nice guy, or he just has a magnetic fish energy, I don't know, but the fish love him and it's so funny. We call him the drive-in theater. All the fish will just swim up to watch him, and it's just really cute. So fish interactions usually result in us being entertainment for the fish. I haven't had any fish try to attack me or anything. We have had a couple of smallmouth bass, specifically smallmouth bass because they are just helplessly curious. We've had a few of them follow us around. The first time this happened was in an inland lake, and my dad and I thought, okay, this fish must have a nest or something nearby, or eggs. I don't know if you call it a nest. And so we thought, okay, we'll leave it alone, because it got really close to us and would just kind of be there and just stare at us. And then we'd move a little bit and it'd follow us and just stare. So we left it, swam really far away. And then on camera later that night when we were reviewing footage, we saw that same fish, because it was of a very abnormally large size. We saw that same fish in the background of one of our videos that was filmed far, far away from where we had found it. And it was just in the background of the video, creeping with its red eyes. Smallmouth bass specifically just absolutely adore following my dad and I around. We've had them come up to us in many different lakes. They're just so curious and they are so adorable. They're definitely my absolute favorite fish of all fish. Smallmouth bass. I know it sounds really basic, but I love those little guys. They are adorable. They're like the little puppy dogs of the lake. As far as other creatures go, the ducks tend to follow us around a lot. I have some videos where we'll be swimming in the water and there might be a group of kids or something around. The ducks will kind of sometimes head over by me and just chill by me. I don't know if it's because I'm a little more calm than the rowdy kids and it feels like a safe space, or if they think I'm gonna feed them food or something. We've also had some ducks, usually wood ducks, that will just kind of hop into your lap if you're sitting on the beach. One time I was getting ready to go swimming and I had a wood duck waddle right up onto my tail. And it was super, super funny, but also problematic because I needed to get into the water and it was kind of keeping me from getting into the water. So we haven't had any bad encounters with wildlife. It's just been good stuff, all good stuff. And it's one of my favorite parts about being a mermaid, is just being able to be another creature in the lake and just see all the other creatures, or at least be around them. This is Phantom from the future. I forgot to mention 2 other really cute animal encounters that just need to be included. I didn't get any videos of one of them, but I was at the Up North Busker Festival and I was in the grass, and a garter snake was feeling rather insecure about all the kids that were around, so it came over to my tail, my shadow tail, and curled itself up against me and then used me as a little hiding area. And it was the cutest thing ever, and I'm so sad we didn't get videos. But also, when I was in Mackinac City with my older sister, I was in the fountain and I was resting for a bit because it was kind of cold and I was basking in the sun, and we found a really cute spider. I don't know what type of spider he was, but he was the most adorable and attentive spider I've ever met. My sister, who isn't keen on spiders, even fell in love with him, and he was just so, so cute. and we transported him somewhere safe where kids wouldn't sit on him by accident. But it was just such a sweet encounter. So I had to share that because spiders are adorable and wildlife isn't always just like cute fuzzy creatures. Sometimes it's cute fuzzy arachnids. And the last question we have has to do with the plant life in the Great Lakes and I guess the depth of the Great Lakes. And that question is, aren't you afraid of the seaweed and the deep water? And no, I am not. When I do not have a mermaid tail on, I really don't like swimming in seaweed because I don't like the feeling of it under my feet and I don't like it wrapping around my legs. But when I'm in a mermaid tail, I don't usually have a problem with seaweed. There are only really 2 times when I do have a problem with seaweed. And in one case, it is the specific type of seaweed that grows in certain areas. I think it's invasive, I really don't know. It is in Bel Air, where I have an event that I go to frequently. And that seaweed is like this close to the surface, super thick, super strong, and very hard to swim through. So when I'm swimming out to that event, because usually I'll like swim out from one beach and then cut over and then swim to the beach where I'm like interacting with people to make it like really realistic and believable. And when I have to swim through that seaweed, I can't go underwater. Like I literally have to tread at the top of the water like this. I'll like insert a little clip so you can see it. There's a lot of seaweed in this river. It's pretty pathetic, but there's literally no way to swim through that stuff. It's so thick and it's honestly pretty dangerous. So that's like one seaweed I don't like, but most seaweeds I don't mind at all. The only other exception is laying in seaweed or being in like a thick patch of seaweed for a long time because I have a very strange problem. I have a phobia of my own veins. It's not like needles and stuff, it's just my veins. Terrified of veins. I don't like to look at them. I don't like to talk about them. I don't like to see them. Like bodybuilders who have their veins bulging, I'm sorry, you scare me. So one thing I really dislike is leeches because they look a little bit like veins and they attach to veins and they're kind of like external veins and they just make me really uncomfortable. And so I avoid leeches like the plague, and that's like one of my biggest fears as a mermaid is running into leeches. There are these little tiny things called planarians that like to hang out in seaweed, and they kind of look like leeches. And I've gotten them on my tail before when I've been swimming like in an area and I can just kind of like let my tail dangle into the seaweed. That's when they tend to latch onto my tail. Obviously they can't bite my tail, it's made of silicone. And I don't think planarians, the type that are in the lakes that I swim, I don't think they bite people. I don't think they're like leeches. They look an awful lot like leeches and I really don't like them. So that's the only other time I have a problem with seaweed is if there is a risk of planarians or leeches or anything leech-like because they make me super uncomfy.
Murky water, isn't it?
As far as deep water goes, unless it's really wavy or if it's in Lake Michigan or Lake Superior or Lake Huron, I guess one of the big lakes, and it's the side of that big lake where I know I'm not protected from the wind and the waves, usually I don't have an issue. If it is an area that is likely to get wavy and I have to swim really far to get back to shore, then it makes me a little worried. But for the most part, I don't have a problem with deep water. Lake Michigan and the other areas where I swim aren't like the ocean where you have a risk of like a shark finding you or like some sort of weird creature popping up and freaking you out. It's pretty tame. The currents are really the only thing you have to worry about, and like any sort of bacteria or anything. So I'm not really afraid of deep water. That said, I don't dive deep into the water. I am not a trained freediver, not formally. I've just been swimming for a very long time. I just kind of do my thing, and I know that I am not a trained freediver, so I'm not gonna try to like dive down really deep and hold my breath for a super long time. I'm just gonna like film my videos, do my thing, keep the magic alive for the kids the best I can. So I think I would be afraid of deep water if I found myself down deep in the water, but since I don't, because I don't go down deep in the water, we're good. Those are all of the questions that I have for today's video. If you'd like to watch any of the other questions and answers video, I will link them in the description box and put them on screen right here. And I will also put one of my favorite swimming videos of this moonflower character right here.